market that he said would crash if Joe Biden was elected. We have both parts covered. ABC's Rachel Scott at Biden Transition Headquarters in Delaware.
With the transition finally underway, President-elect Joe Biden today unveiling much of his national security team with a clear message. The era of America First is over, and we're ready to work with our allies again.
It's a team that reflects the fact that America is back, ready to lead the world, not retreat from it.
President Trump's name mentioned not even once, but everything about today's event amounted to a sharp rebuke. On stage, everyone socially distanced and in masks. The podium wiped down after each speaker. Most of Biden's nominees, Washington veterans he's worked with for years. Longtime aide Tony Blinken, now up for Secretary of State.
As the president-elect said, we can't solve all of the world's problems alone. We need to be working with other countries. We need their cooperation. We need their partnership.
Biden's nominee for ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas Greenfield, a 35-year veteran of the State Department.
I want to say to you, America is back. Multilateralism is back. Diplomacy is back.
Homeland Security nominee Alejandro Mayorkas, the first Latino nominated for the post, and the son of immigrants, setting a new tone.
The Department of Homeland Security has a noble mission to help keep us safe and to advance our proud history as a country of welcome.
And Avril Haines, the first woman nominated as Director of National Intelligence, a role that became politicized under Trump.
Mr. President-elect, you know that I have never shied away from speaking truth to power.
The president-elect also tapping his longtime friend John Kerry for a new position, climate czar, with a permanent seat on the National Security Council.
President Joe Biden will trust in God, and he will also trust in science to guide our work on Earth to protect God's creation.
With the transition now underway, Biden will soon receive national security briefings.
They've been very forthcoming, offering all access, and so we're going to be starting those on a regular basis.
But no contact yet from President Trump.
Mr. President-elect, will you meet with President Trump?
Thanks, guys.
Let's get to Rachel Scott with us live from Wilmington tonight. And Rachel, the election, as I mentioned 3 weeks ago tonight, feels like a long time ago. The transition only beginning last night officially, but tonight you're learning the Biden team already now speaking with all federal agencies and that they've been in touch with Dr. Fauci as well.
Yeah, that's right, David. President-elect Joe Biden saying as soon as those federal agencies were given the green light, the outreach was immediate and sincere. His team now in touch with Dr. Anthony Fauci and Operation Warp Speed about plans to distribute a coronavirus vaccine. And of course, David, this does open the door for Joe Biden to start getting those critical and classified national security briefings. David?
Rachel Scott live in Wilmington for us. Rachel, thank you. And as I mentioned, the president suddenly holding a briefing today at the White House. It lasted just 64 seconds, and it came amid a rise on Wall Street. The Dow soaring today, topping 30,000 for the first time in history.
Ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho. We thought that the minute that Biden got elected, that the stock market would go the opposite direction and it would crash. Once more, these tactics that Donald Trump has tried to manipulate the people in have been nothing more than false of phony and fake themselves. You know, whenever you got the goose accusing the gander of being of the same substance, or you got the pot calling the kettle black that's actually blacker than the kettle, you have this type of hypocrisy that's going on. These numbers right here should prove to the world that Donald Trump was using illegitimate, manipulating tactics in trying to manipulate his followers by making them believe that the sky was going to fall, that the house was going to burn if the Democrats elected Joe Biden. This is now the official day after. Day after. I mean, this is one of the tattletale indicating thermometer signs that Donald Trump wants to use towards good behavior or success. Today, this number has never hit these numbers before. Now tell me, if the world was actually looking at Donald Trump, or they was looking at the achievements of a successful party that was going forth in world affairs. Donald Trump, if the truth be known, was dragging those numbers down because of the things that he was saying and how that he was saying it. I don't blame people for being gullible. I don't blame people for being unlearned. I don't blame people for being a lot of times misled or misguided or deceived in the information that they have been exposed to, because a lot of times in dealing with information, you're limited in what somebody tells you towards it being the gospel to begin with. Okay? But whenever the proof is in the pudding, in reaction to the very opposite reaction of what Donald Trump said was going to happen if Joe Biden was elected president, it speaks volumes about the individual that was trying to manipulate the people to begin with, as far as his tactics of, I can't really wrap my head around what I'm wanting to say to my viewers in regards to this type of manipulation. We have to be for the will of the people of the world, not just one particular person trying to get his way over and beyond the betterment of the will of the people. That's what I've been trying to say all along. God bless the Biden team towards them coming on board, and God bless them being stern and steadfast. And I truly believe that possibly Heinz 57 can get in behind some of the work that he originally was part of back years ago, and finally sum it up, or finally put a lid to it, finally end a lot of the controversy that was going on with the Middle East Iran affairs. Because I actually looked at what the Democrat Party done in regards to Iran. A lot of people said that it was non-productive in basically opening up those type of channels with Iran. Well, we see what has occurred by being stiff-necked and trying to be strong-armed the Iranian people over in the Middle East, because they have basically cut off all tides towards not bringing transparency in regards to their nuclear energy sources to be able to bring energy to their people. I don't know. I'm not working the tables. I'm not answering the telephone calls. I'm not getting down in the trenches per se towards understanding the primary purpose for the Iranian people of building a nuclear facility to supposedly bring energy into the region. I don't know if that is in fact their primary motive, or if their primary motive is to be able to build a nuclear bomb so that they can attack their neighboring country over there pertaining to Jerusalem, or the place where Christ was born in regard to Israel. I don't know. I'm not in the trenches. I'm not making the telephone calls. I'm not answering those telephone calls. I'm not part of the team that's investigating or was investigating the Iran nuclear agreement that Donald Trump basically went in and busted up. And because of that, I can't make a clear call of which tactic was the best one. Was the tactic that the Obama team delivered to the Iranians the best tactic, or was the tactic that Trump was using the best tactic? Well, once more, proof is in the pudding pertaining to that, because we see how the Iranian people responded and reacted whenever Donald Trump put his foot down and was using these type of strong arm tactics. Once more, I don't want to wave off one way or the other because it's above my pay grade. I don't get paid to look at the final analogy towards what's actually happening, because, you know, other countries can be just as slick and sly as the American people whenever it comes to building facilities under the ground, to the point that we have no earthly idea towards what they're doing, what type of canyons, what type of underground facilities that they're building, and why they're building them, and where they're at. The only thing that we can observe is the things that's on top of the ground. The only thing that they can observe is the things that are on top of the ground. Whenever it comes to NORAD, whenever it comes to the city that's under Colorado going towards New Mexico, they can't see that. They know it exists, or they think that it exists because of the rumors that's went forth. I know it exists. There is no ifs and ands about whether or not it exists. I know that it exists. I've spent enough time in New Mexico and in Colorado to know what I know. Now, granted, whenever you go into those places and it says no cameras allowed, that means that they keep up with you towards whether or not you're documenting them. And if you're in violation of that, you can not only get your equipment confiscated from you, but you can actually go to jail for a long time in regard to terrorism type charges, or whenever it comes to revealing classified information that you're not supposed to reveal. Like I said, the information that we can see with the Iranians from the ground up is one thing, but the ground down is something totally different. And unless we know that we know what they're doing and why they're doing it, it's all in speculation to begin with. But to end the point that I'm trying to make tonight, the day after it has been classified as the Biden team, the Biden ticket, winning the 2020 presidential election, we see that the stock market that Donald Trump was celebrating, he was, I don't know if he forgot some of the information that he was projecting and putting out to the American people, but for him to come out and to go through some sort of a rewarding ceremony that the market finally hit numbers that has never been seen before the day after Mr. Biden gets certified towards being the President of the United States, is actually contrary or contradictory towards what Donald Trump was trying to achieve to begin with. In other words, instead of him coming out bragging, he should actually be ashamed. He should be ashamed that the needle went the other direction. It didn't fall the way that he had made gestures towards, that if the Biden ticket won, of which way that the stock market would go. It just proves that much more towards the hypocrisy that was coming out of Donald Trump's mouth in trying to use scare tactics for votes. And if people can't see through that now, since it's been basically certified that Mr. Biden is going to become the next president of the United States, the 46th president, people that was for the Republican Party or the Republican ticket needs to reevaluate who they was supporting and who they was bamboozled by.
Wilmington for us, Rachel. Thank you. And as I mentioned, the president suddenly holding a briefing today at the White House. It lasted just 64 seconds, and it came amid a rise on Wall Street. The Dow soaring today, topping 30,000 for the first time in history. The president came before the cameras to celebrate the Dow after 1,000 for 64 seconds, and it came amid a rise on Wall Street. The Dow soaring today, topping 30,000 for the first time in history. The president, the Dow soaring today, topping 30,000 for the first time in history. Amid a rise on Wall Street, the Dow soaring today, topping 30,000 for the first time in history. The president came before the cameras to celebrate the Dow after repeatedly saying the market would crash if Joe Biden was elected. Wall Street analysts tonight saying the transition now underway helped fuel it. Here's what the president said.
The stock market's just broken 30,000. Never been broken, that number. That's a sacred number, 30,000. Nobody thought they'd ever see it. And I just want to congratulate all the people within the administration that worked so hard. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the people of our country.
The president left without taking any questions, but John Carl takes the questions. He's right here tonight, live in Washington again. John, I know you were in the briefing room. We know the transfer of power now officially underway. You were reporting live on the Air Force last night as this was all underway. President Trump, though, still hasn't conceded. So what's the thinking right now inside the White House? What are you learning?
Well, David, I'm told the president's spending a lot of time in the private dining room right next to the Oval Office. He's talking to friends and supporters at all hours of the day and into the evening. I'm told he is coming around to the reality that Joe Biden will be the next president. But as one of those who has spoken to the president regularly over these past 3 weeks, put it to me, quote, "This is a man who can't say he is sorry and who can't say he lost. He needs the world to believe it was stolen from him." So I'm told to expect the lawsuits will continue right until the bitter end. And the president is telling his friends and supporters that he is not going to leave the world of politics no matter what happens. In fact, one person who who I spoke to today said that the president told him flatly he intends to run for president again. David?
John Carl with us tonight. John, thank you. And with Thanksgiving just 2 days away, we continue to report on the millions of Americans in need. Long lines for food across this nation. Hundreds of cars waiting this morning. These images from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we've seen them everywhere. Many of those reaching out for help, doing so for the first time. And ABC's chief national correspondent, Matt Gutman, reporting in tonight.
Before they display this, I just want to say that I called St. Elizabeth Shelter in Santa Fe, New Mexico, a place that I stayed almost 2 months in back in, I think it was 2012, 2013. It was 2013 that I stayed there. And I was asking them about the high country, what it looked like in Taos, up around Angel's Fire, Eagle's Nest, the northern part of New Mexico in regards to the snowfalls. And of course their reply was, well, it's still, the peaks maybe over 5,500 foot, 5,500 foot may have some snow on it, but if it does, it's very little. They said you might find some of those areas up around Taos and Eagle's Nest to be able to generate any type of snowfall. But I also asked about the coronavirus. How bad was it? The individual that I was talking to at St. Elizabeth's Shelter basically come to tears by saying it's bad. It's horribly bad, especially among the Native American tribal Indian groups that live in New Mexico, and also the Latino and the Mexican population in that area. So for the first time, I'm fixing to view what you're fixing to view in regard towards how bad it is in Albuquerque, New Mexico, a place that I stayed at only for one night. I stayed in a homeless shelter in Albuquerque, New Mexico for one night. May have been 2 nights. During the time that I was there, it was basically like a death camp. You heard people gagging, throwing up in the bathrooms. Bathrooms was just unsanitized towards even going in there. People choking, gagging, people basically dying in their own vomit. It was one of the worst sights that I'd ever laid my eyes on in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Now in the Santa Fe, New Mexico shelter, they kept it clean. People was monitored towards you don't come in there with alcohol on your breath. If you was running any type of fever, you wasn't allowed back into the facility. They had another facility that you could go to that was a sick or a worser facility. I actually helped them raise money while I was in Santa Fe one night in bringing in the proceeds of donors that would donate to various churches up in the Santa Fe area towards being able to help those who was going through somewhat of a little bit of a hard time. I'm so glad that I got to meet the people in the Santa Fe area, and I am glad in a way that I compared peaches to peaches pertaining to what they had in Santa Fe, where the Capitol building is, versus in Albuquerque. Albuquerque, New Mexico is very, very strenuous. Violence is bad. So many different groups, gang activity that coming out of Mexico and being there on I-40, coming out of California, coming from the East Coast to the West Coast, basically all merge right there in the Albuquerque, New Mexico area. They got beautiful art in New Mexico, but they have some of the harsh conditions. They got a big heart. They helped me out tremendously, and I will always be grateful for the people in New Mexico towards how that they extended their hand and they basically saved my life during the time that I was actually contemplating taking my life. Living up in the living up above the Taos area for a while and living down by the Rio Grande River, understanding their way of life in how that they felt, what they believed, how they worshiped, how some of them still felt violated because of what went on during the Spanish quest of the Spanish uprising. The only part of New Mexico that I regret that I didn't go to Area 51. I regret that I didn't go there. I wish that I did, but I didn't make it to Area 51. And I'm pretty sure if I did, I would have seen basically what that you can see on the internet, and I wouldn't have been exposed to anything any different, any less or any more than what the general public has already been exposed to. But please listen to this as we're fixing to close this particular program, coming from the Windmill Ministries here at 291 Thompson Road, Sharon, Tennessee, zip code 38255.
Tonight, the nation's need on display in those hours-long lines for Thanksgiving meals in cities across the country.
Happy Thanksgiving!
The pandemic triggering a hunger crisis. 26 million Americans saying their families don't have enough to eat, more than doubling in just months. And as many as 11 million children are going hungry.
What would you do if you didn't have this help for Thanksgiving?
If I didn't have no help, I don't know how I'm going to eat for Thanksgiving.
In Los Angeles, the Grace of God Church handing out 2,000 meals.
We're seeing people.
Now they changed their criteria from New Mexico to Los Angeles. I just wanted my viewers to make sure that they caught that.
Come through Mercedes-Benz and Lexus and Range Rovers who never thought they would be in a position where they'd be in need. But you know, the thing about need is it has no address.
Feeding America is seeing that trend nationwide of people needing charitable food for the first time.
We're especially concerned about the holidays and the winter ahead. About 40% of the people who are turning to us for help have never before relied upon the charitable food system.
Hundreds lining up in Palm Beach, Florida.
Our landlord kicked us out, and having this definitely helps with my 2.5-year-old son.
In Phoenix, one food bank saying it's given out the most in its 53-year history. Single mom Andrea Thomas forced to make tough decisions.
I pay for medication for both me and my daughter every month and stuff like that, so I've had to really juggle and find out what's a priority and what can wait.
And help coming from across the country. The group East West Food Rescue delivering 18 million meals in 19 states since the pandemic began.
We're going to be delivering boxes to different displaced groups of folks that are definitely waiting for this food.
A lot of hardworking people out there trying to get help to those in need. Matt with us live tonight. And Matt, you know, we reported last night here on so many of these organizations, from Feeding America to East West Food Rescue to FarmLink. And I know you've learned tonight that viewers already responding.
It's an incredible response, David. Just since last night, every organization you just mentioned said that traffic on their websites has spiked, and Give Essential reporting tens of thousands of dollars in donations. East West Food, get this, David, said donations have quadrupled since last night. But it is worth noting that across the country, charitable organizations like these have seen the need for supplies double. David.
And that long line shows the need continues. Matt, thank you for reporting in tonight, and thanks to everybody at home. In the meantime, to the storm system brewing in the Midwest, heading to the Northeast I-95 corridor by Thanksgiving Day. So, of course, what's it going to mean for holiday travel? Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z, tracking it all for us tonight. Hey, Ginger.
Hey, David, we've already seen the damaging winds in excess of 60 miles per hour from Gage to Woodward, Oklahoma. Oklahoma will take on the severe storms tonight, but Kansas City tonight over through western Illinois. That's where the heaviest rain will be. So I want you to watch as that warm front pushes north if you're traveling 70 or 35 there. Then Chicago tomorrow, 90, 94. Western Kentucky, even Cincinnati as the warm front lifts through, could see severe storms turn into just some heavy rain. They'll lose their intensity by the time they make it to eastern Pennsylvania, Baltimore, or say even Boston. But that makes for a wet Thanksgiving in the Northeast. David.
All right, drive safely. Great to have you, Ginger. Thanks. When we come back here tonight, the mystery monolith discovered from the air deep in the American desert, the metal object showing up out of nowhere.
People everywhere living.
Your skin.
Ask your health.
Lasting care. The only thing stronger than
Body Wash's new formula works with your skin. The skin you live in.
We turn next here tonight to the two NYPD officers shot here in New York City responding to a domestic dispute. Gunfire erupting inside the home. The suspect was shot and killed. One officer was hit in the hand, the other in the leg. Other officers on the scene rushing them to the hospital. Also here in New York tonight, remembering a former mayor who made history. Former New York City Mayor David Dinkins has died, the first and only African-American mayor in the city's history, proudly describing the city's rich diversity as a gorgeous mosaic. Current Mayor Bill de Blasio calling him a mentor and friend. Mayor David Dinkins was 93. When we come back here tonight, that mystery monolith discovered deep in the American desert. Setting up, sir.
Abilities at Hellmans.com.
To the index of other news, and we turn now to that mystery in the Utah desert tonight, a metal monolith discovered from the air. A Utah wildlife team counting bighorn sheep by helicopter, spotting the object, a shiny triangular monolith, stainless steel. The discovery, of course, prompting all sorts of theories, but tonight officials now say they believe it's an illegal art exhibit. They also don't want to encourage visitors to what is described as extremely rugged terrain. And Elon Musk apparently taking off too. Tesla CEO briefly edging out Bill Gates today to become the world's second richest person behind Amazon's Jeff Bezos. Musk and Gates are now essentially tied, worth about $128 billion each. Musk owns more than 50% of SpaceX, which of course just brought 4 astronauts to the International Space Station last week. When we come back here tonight, the dog missing for 10 days, so many searching in town, and then the stranger with a drone.
ABC World News Tonight with David Muir. 28 days. Broadcast.
Finally tonight here, the missing dog and the stranger willing to help. America Strong. Brian James from Cairo, New York is a licensed hiking guide and a drone pilot. He saw this flyer online for a lost dog named Meadow, a 1-year-old golden retriever. She was missing from a few towns over in Andes, New York. Brian was moved. He heard many in town were helping to search for Meadow, so he drove over to join in.
I'm realizing that she might be easy to see from the air if we find her before snow.
Flying his drone near where she was last spotted, carefully looking through miles of trees, slowly canvassing when all of a sudden he spots a patch of white. He stops and zooms in.
All right, I was able to get a visual on Meadow from the air.
Then, on foot, he races toward that spot, and he sees her.
Come here!
Meadow runs to Brian, and not long after, she is reunited with her family after being missing for 10 days. And right here tonight,
Hi, David.
Meadow back home with Gary and Debbie Morgan, telling us not only are they overjoyed, that when they saw that video, they couldn't believe it.
At the last second, he saw a small white dot on the forest floor. It was Meadow.
They are thankful to have Meadow home and thankful for Brian, the stranger, who answered that call.
And being able to rescue her.
Bring her back to us.
And tonight, Brian telling us that everybody's got the capability to help. You never know what will come of it. Meadow home just in time for Thanksgiving, and what a gift, Brian. Good night.
Wow, if they'd have waited until it snowed, she would have blended in with the snow so well that they never would have been able to have spotted the dog. But it just goes to show you that this technology of the 21st century can be used in in-depth good ways. It's not all bad. It's not all about somebody hacking and somebody trying to steal somebody's identity. The technology is there to be used in a predominant, peaceful, productive way if we would just take the initiative of doing so. I want to say thank you to my viewers. Good luck to all of us on this particular Thanksgiving Eve that is coming up, and have a happy Thanksgiving on one of the most trying type years that I personally have ever seen in my entire life, compounded with, I'm not even going to say because I don't think it's worthwhile saying, but I'm going to use this vocabulary, compounded from A to Z of what people has experienced this year whenever things flipped the way that they did long about January or February. We have never ever been through these type of extreme situations that went from one extreme to a different extreme so quickly and so abruptly. Thank you. God bless you. God bless America. And good luck to each and every one of us, and shalom. Happy Thanksgiving.